Hey guys, how's it going? Let's talk about Warrior. Warrior is a 2019 TV series that aired for 2 seasons between 2019 and 2020 and has actually been renewed for a third season. It was produced by Cinemax and it aired on Cinemax, and it is now owned by HBO, so it will now air the third season this year on HBO. Warrior is a story that was created by none other than Bruce Lee. Apparently, he pitched this to Warner Brothers and Paramount in the 1970s, but they said that they weren't interested, although there were some suspicious programming on their networks that featured some familiar traits from this series. But before we go any further in this review, because this is a review, it's a review and it's a British fans' retrospective thoughts and opinions on this television series. As I said, Warrior aired for 2 seasons and it will have a third season. The 2 seasons aired between 2019 and 2020. I myself overlooked this series. I did see it advertised a few years ago while watching something else, but it didn't seem like what I now know the series turned out to be. And I can tell you guys very early in this review that this is a very, very good series to watch. If you like martial arts, if you like Western settings, which obviously I do, then this is a must-see in my opinion. To be perfectly honest, I am really looking forward to seeing season 3 and seeing what HBO can do with this series. Shall we talk about the cast? This series stars a lot of well-known Asian actors, Asian English-speaking actors as well. The likes of Andrew Koji, Olivia Cheng, Jason Tobin, Diane Duan. There's also got quite a few Irish actors or Irish speaking actors in this. I don't know if they're actually Irish or just American or English actors. You've got Kieran Bew, you've got Dean Jagger, you've got Joanna Vanderham, Tom Weston Jones, Hoon Lee, Langley Kirkwood, Christian McKay, Perry Young, Joe Towson, Dustin Nguyen, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Celine Bookins, Miranda Raisin, Cheng Tang, Maria Elena Lass. And they are the main portion of the characters in this. There are other people that are in this. I mean, I do want to talk about, is it Joe Towson, who is, if in case you don't know this, he is the actor who plays in the modern Mortal Kombat film. He is the actor who plays Sub-Zero. So yeah, he may or may not have got the role of Sub-Zero why he was in this series, or maybe he was doing both things at the same time. Obviously, Mortal Kombat came out last year, so I presume that would have been filmed at the same time. But it's nice to see characters like that. It's nice to see other characters like Olivia Cheng, or actresses, should I say, like Olivia Cheng. She's known for certain things as well. But yeah, to the actual series itself, the first series features the storyline of a traveler from Japan who comes across the salty water, or whatever, the salt water, and he travels to America in pursuit of his sister, but also like to get a better life or whatever. He comes across and immediately he is seen to be completely different from most of the other people that are around. Like there's a Chinese guy that has got some like moldy like rice, like just boiled rice or whatever, and some American, like Irish Americans, I think they are, or it might just be Americans. They just bully him and they knock his food to the floor, and he picks up the food off the floor. And obviously there's no concrete then, even though you wouldn't, concrete is dirty, there's no concrete, it was no wood, it was muddy floor. And he picked up, and the character that Andrew plays turned around to him and said, the main character turned around and said, like, don't do that. Don't give them the satisfaction of doing that. And then somebody else basically calls him out, like one of the sergeants or one of the people, the soldiers that are there. They call him out and ask him what his problem is, and then in the end, he ends up beating up these two guys and then embarrassing the other guy. And a lot of people pay or take notice and pay attention to what he's doing. And then a few other people, well, including one person who is basically like, there is one character in this called Chang, who is, no, not Chang, Chow, sorry, who is, he basically plays the, I don't really know how to explain this, but he basically plays the, character who sits between the lines of the whites and the Chinese, but also he doesn't represent any of the factions. He's friendly with them all. And some may call this guy a snake. I actually would see this guy as a very snaky character, but he does actually have some good intentions in the film, but he also, there is some things that a lot of people, of course, would call out and say that he's two-faced. He goes against certain codes. He's basically too scared to represent anything to do with, like, being on either side of the fence. But yeah, his character does serve quite a purpose in the program throughout the two series. There are multiple factions of, like, gangster factions of the Japanese community where they're split into different organizations and different criminal gangs, and they go up against each other. The main focus in this series is the Hop Way. That is who these characters represent. There are other factions, as I said, who they go up against, and you get to learn some stuff about their characters. And like I said, the main character, he is in search of his sister, who is part of a different faction. She's married to the leader of the faction, because years before, he, when in Japan, did something to disrespect the family of his sister's husband, and in return she offered to marry the man, even though she was probably 40 years younger than him at the time, and, you know, just one of them ones. But she also has, like, her own, like, Sub-Zero in this is also her lover, and it's quite well known to people that she has a relationship with Sub-Zero at the same time as having a relationship with the leader of the faction. Maybe he doesn't know that because he's old, or maybe he allows it. It's not really hinted upon. I would also like to talk to you guys briefly about Banshee. Banshee is a Cinemax series that aired previously to Warrior, that was produced by the producer of Warrior, Jonathan Tropper, and also starred Hoon Lee, who I spoke about before, plays Chow in Warrior. They've taken elements from Banshee with the modern setting of Banshee, and they have managed to use their production style to be able to make Warrior a much, much more appealing series if you are into martial arts, fighting, etc. Banshee does feature a lot of that, but it also features more gunplay, more different types of stuff. But Banshee is something that I would highly recommend. I've only watched a few episodes of it, so I can't really give you a review as of sorts on Banshee, but maybe we'll get that down the line. It's a much older series than Warrior, but I do recommend it if you can check it out. There is also a production credit for Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, in Warrior. And going back to Warrior, like I said, guys, I highly recommend this. The series features Irish police officers and American police officers, and this is in the post-Civil War era in America. So there is, of course, Irish people who fought for the South, Irish people who fought for the North. There are people who are from the North who hate people from the South, etc., etc., etc. But they are trying to blend into one society, and there is some massive tensions between the Irish Americans, the Americans, and the Chinese and the Asians that have come over, even to the point where there's a point where they ostracize some black characters. You don't get many black characters in this, but they ostracize these random black characters for asking for a drink in an Irish bar. And although the racist main Irish leader who hates the Chinese even though he does warn them and tells them basically to F off, he says, we won't hate on them. They were brought here. They were forced here in chains. They didn't get asked to come here, or they didn't seek a better life here. They were brought here. And it's a weird thing to see that it's not even hatred because of the color of the skin of the Chinese. It's hatred because of the fact that the American people think, or the Irish Americans think, that they've got a right to be there, even though they're foreigners. But at the same time, they hate the Japanese and Chinese for coming over, working for cheap, etc., etc. And there are some real overtones in this, and that's on the side of the Irish, and then the police are involved, and they sort of play both sides, where they have to work with the criminals and they have to work with the Irish, and some of them are Irish, so that they back the Irish thing. They don't quite go full bore on the hatred of the Chinese, but some of them are, and some of them do. There is also a lot of sex, and there's brothels involved in this, affairs, other stuff going on. Some stuff that you would immediately question, like the main character immediately getting into a sexual relationship with one of the other main character's wives, who is then, of course, then a main character, and then nothing really progresses between the two, apart from the odd thing here and there going forward. But it's how quickly that happened. Maybe it should have happened in reverse, where the main character had the affair with the mayor's wife down the line, rather than immediately as he entered the program. But yeah, there is also a war between the Tongs, as I said before, or I didn't mention the Tongs, but these are the Chinese, like, mafia factions, gangster factions that are involved in the opium trade and all that kind of stuff. And trust me, make no mistake, that even though the police and other people try to stop the opium trade, including obviously the mayor and all those people, they obviously don't try to stop it good enough, in my opinion. There are very much examples that they're not doing their job properly, and when it's convenient, they will use opium, they will use other stuff. There are multiple situations, multiple things happening. There's, even if you notice it, and like I said, the Sub-Zero actor is in this, there is actually a small, slight overtone of Mortal Kombat characters in this as well. No special powers or nothing, but just, you'll see it when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about. This is one of my longer reviews. I've made it longer because I really wanted to give you guys some details about this series, because it is one of the better series that you will find out there. And like I said, guys, and I will say it again, this is a must-see series, and I'm so looking forward to season 3. In the end, season 2 builds up to a one-on-one showdown between Assam, the main Bruce Lee character, and the leader of the Irish faction, and they have a one-on-one fight, and I'll let you watch the series to see who actually wins. Season 1 has a few character building episodes that don't really follow the plotline of the Tong War, etc. It's more for character building. But season 2 gets deep into the progression of these characters that are in the program. And like I said, the main character is clearly a Bruce Lee type of character, and it is built around what Bruce Lee's original plan was, of a martial arts fighter traveling to America in the Western times. Such a great plot. It works for me, and I hope it works for you. I've tried to keep this as spoiler free as possible, but of course I had to mention certain things. But yeah, guys, I'm going to give this a solid 9 out of 10. I am looking forward to season 3, and I hope that there is more beyond that. I highly recommend this to you guys, and I hope that you enjoy what you see. When the time is right, I'll talk about season 3. Until then, please like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.